of note that there's a lot of backup ways to go off. For instance, if you have Cavern Harpy with Shardless Agent, you don't even need the Imperial Recruiter. You can just keep bouncing the Shardless Agent, which will cause you to cascade into lots and lots of cards, eventually letting you play every single card in your deck that costs 2 or less, which will allow you to eventually start looping Baleful Strix. And if you have Baleful Strix with Cavern Harpy, you can keep drawing as many cards as you want. So there are actually tons of ways to go off if you have the one Cavern Harpy.
Yep.
And even if you don't have the Cavern Harpy, sometimes you just play a lot of cards for free and they all chain into more cards. Now, on the other side of the table, Cory T-Rex Teran is playing Jund.
One of the
Jund.
honest deck of the format. Bloodbraid Elf, Tarmogoyf, Dark Confidant. He's playing with Punishing Fire, so he has that package set up here. But, you know, good creatures and removal spells.
Now, to say this is the honest deck is a little funny because it has so many banned cards in Modern. Deathrite Shaman, Bloodbraid Elf, Punishing Fire. And obviously, cards like Tarmogoyf and Dark Confidant are no slouch, but Hymn to Turok, too powerful for Modern. This is a souped-up, glorified Modern deck.
Absolutely. And you see Alex here lead off with the Thoughtseize. Cory already on 6 cards. You see Dark Confidant, Abrupt Decay, Punishing Fire, and a couple of lands. No Grove of the Burn Willows to supplement that Punishing Fire. Alex goes ahead and takes Dark Confidant.
Now, a lot of Allure decks have historically used mana acceleration like Wall of Roots in order to speed things up. Here, Alex has access to 4 Deathrite Shamans as his acceleration. And it's interesting to see how much the Allure decks have evolved because we haven't seen too much Allure in a little while. Now they have access to Deathrite Shaman, to Shardless Agent, and kind of just a different style. Baleful Strix, a different style than when Allure was popular about 5 years ago.
Yeah. So Alex with just a basic forest here, and this is another issue that, you know, Cory might have here. Before he knows what's going on, it might be too late. Alex's starts can be pretty innocuous until he actually has the kill. They might resemble decks like Bug or Jund themselves until it's too late.
Yeah, because like even right here, this looks like textbook Shardless Jund.
Yeah.
It's a slight oddball to have basic forest, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
And a Baleful Strix, so
Yeah.
it's still unclear what actually is going on
This
here.
looks very much like Alex is just playing a Shardless bug deck.
Yep. So Cory breaks his fetch line at the end of the turn, finds a Badlands.
You sure don't see that very often. Badlands.
Oh, yeah. We had Plateau on camera last round.
Badlands is like the Scrublands of Legacy.
Yeah. And Cory looks like he's going to use his Punching Fire here on the Shardless Agent.
T-Rex rips. Do you think we're going to see Liliana come down?
Well, it does make, you know, both the Edict and the Symmetrical Discard are a little innocuous right now, but Cory doesn't really have any better action besides using Wasteland on the Tropical Island. So I imagine Liliana gets cast, but I'm not even sure if Cory's going to want a plus or minus here.
Yeah, I could see wanting to go down just to get slightly ahead on the board, and to give him more time to get cards out of his own hand.
And there's the Edict. Back to Alex.
Now, what's going to be funny is if Alex just drops the Lurn and Cory's like, oh, this game isn't what I thought it was about at all.
Eternal Witness.
A slightly odd choice, but believable.
Yeah, it still looks like Alex is just playing this attrition card advantage, you know, board presence kind of game. And that's great to be doing against removal spells in Liliana the Veil.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he's going to just, I mean, he might beat him just on the merits of just 2-for-1s.
Yeah.
All right, Cory, he's going to have to use one of these removal spells in order to keep his Liliana around. The question is, what is he going to discard?
And does he want to use the Wasteland as well?
I got to imagine he wants the Wasteland just because, I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be nice to be able to cast Bloodbraid Elf, but getting Alex off of, just constricting Alex's resources is exactly what you want to be doing when you have Liliana.
Well, Cory says, that's okay, I'll pass, and actually discards the Wasteland.
Interesting.
Alex takes a draw. Nocturnal Witness into Liliana the Veil. And Cory with Abrupt Decay. And now the return of Charlotte's Agent.
It's funny, if Charlotte's Agent flips past an Allurin, the jig is up.
Oh, yeah. There's Allurin.
There we go.
The cat is out of the bag. There's another Allurin.
Yep.
And there's a Cabal Therapy.
Yeah, the joke has been revealed. Or at least the punchline.
Therapy now on the stack.
What do you name here?
Probably a removal spell, because he has Dreamstalker at the ready, so something that, breaks up sort of the card advantage grind could be pretty bad, but just sort of a shot in the dark. You need Dark Confidant. I think it's, everything is just kind of a shot in the dark there, so whatever you're most scared of, I suppose. And now we have Dreamstalker. And
now, do you think the Dreamstalker Cabal Therapy is the Maelstrom Pulse or the Abrupt Decay? Probably not, right?
no, I don't think so.
No need to. Not yet.
I mean, Alex might win the game kind of just playing this style. He might not even need to go off. He probably does at some point. But if he assembles, say, Cavern Harpy plus Charlotte's Agent, he can just out-card advantage the game that way.
Liliana continuing to relentlessly tick up.
Alex discards land. Cory gets rid of a Maelstrom Pulse. And this has been a pretty anemic draw from Alex. I feel like really the only thing that he can be beating this game is this sort of attrition fight, but he's really well set up to win it. Another Charlotte's Agent. Reveals Cavern Harpy. Oh boy.
That's a big game. We got a reader.
Cavern Harpy, one of the gating creatures from Gatecrash.
Or from Plane Chase.
Or Plane Chase, rather,
right,
yeah, sorry.
From the original Plane Shift. When Cavern Harpy comes into play, you get to bounce one of your creatures, one of your blue or black creatures, and then it also can bounce itself. As a 2/1 flyer, it's got kind of a respectable body. But the real fun is not having to pay any mana at all to get as many self-bounces as you want when you can play it for free with Allurin. Without Allurin, though, it's going to let him cascade every turn. Now, unfortunately, Alex tapped his mana in such a way so that he can't replay his Cavern Harpy this turn.
Well, he's sacking a fetch land right now. He's going to be able to go get a black source of mana, I assume.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. This will let him replay the Charlotte's Agent, meaning the Charlotte's Agent will be back up in Alex's hand, meaning that next turn he'll be able to cascade.
And the whole thing is pretty crazy, right? Because, he gets his Charlotte's Agent back. That's valuable. If Alex goes ahead and uses Liliana to Edict, Alex can simply bring the Cavern Harpy back to his hand for 1 life. He also gets to shuffle his deck, which is really nice, as 2 copies of Allurin got sent to the bottom on a previous Cascade. So a lot of small, awesome stuff happening for Alex right now.
Man, this is the dream.
Yeah.
The Charlotte's Agent Cavern Harpy dream.
Absolutely.
Luis Scott Vargas would enjoy this particular collection of value. T-Rex tanking.
Finds a Grove of the Burn Willows. It does turn on the Punishing Fire.
And it makes his Liliana much stronger, as he could pitch the Punishing Fire every turn if need be. And it lets him shut off the Charlotte's Agent recursion.
Big draw there for Cory.
Very, very big.
He also has Bloodbraid Elf in hand. So there's a big temptation to just cast it this turn. It's a lot of value. It's very powerful, but some real damage might get done here because it goes down that road. So Cory's going to Edict in response. Alex is going to pay a life, pick up his Cavern Harpy. And for those of you who played a lot of Invasion Block Limited like I did, this is a refresher course. It's really hard to kill a Cavern Harpy. It is really hard.
Oh, Intuition. That's a big game. He's a mana... Oh, he has it.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Now, he does have to play through a Punishing Fire that he knows Cory has.
Well, the thing is, Allurin does let you go off at instant speed, so he can just sit there all day, and wait for.
Actually, so he can even, the way he has it set up, he can even beat a single punishing fire. If he intuitions for Allurn, plays Allurn, he can actually. Oh no, he doesn't have the Imperial Recruiter yet, does he?
No, but he can actually generate a lot of value. And again, he can do everything at instant speed. So if Cory wants to leave up mana, that's fine. Alex can wait until he has enough resources to go over the top of a removal spell or two. And in the meantime, that Bloodbraid in Cory's hand is stranded, and if Cory ever taps too low, Alex can just either win the game or generate an insurmountable advantage.
Well, he's gonna. No, I think he's even gonna just, if he puts the Harpy in play, the Harpy can make sure the Shardless Agent never gets killed.
Oh, right. Harpy goes into play,
right.
Trigger goes on the stack, then you play Shardless Agent, and then if something happens, you can return the Cavern Harpy to your hand as in speed.
Yep.
And that's what we're about to see happen here.
Yep. And he's just going to keep cycling through. Every life he pays, he can get another Cascade. This is going to let him cast as many Brainstorms, Cabal Therapies, Thought Seizes, and so on, and Baleful Strixes as he likes.
So there's Deathrite Shaman.
And this is going to give him a huge, huge board. I mean, he literally can do this 14 more times.
Yeah.
Well, I guess 12 with the Punishing Fire, but...
So this is kind of winning au natural, not actually going off just yet, although Alex has a lot of draws that allows that to happen. And Cavern Harpy and at instant speed through Allurn leads to a lot of complicated interactions.
Yep.
The short of it is you can't do very much. This is really hard to break up.
Yep. Alex trying to, demonstrate, look, like I still have this gating thing on the stack. Cory was hoping that there was some way that Punishing Fire would break it up. He's going to have to try now. And now the Cavern Harpy, he says, I pay 1 life, I replay it again.
Yep.
And the Shardless Agent, once again. Such a frustrating combo to try to break up.
Yeah, trying to do it through spot removal is good luck. Coiling Oracle, another piece of the engine now.
Which means that at this point, Alex can put as much mana, he can just keep drawing more and more and more cards if he doesn't want to cascade more.
Cavern Harpy back.
And he does switch to Coiling Oracling.
And I believe the reason that he wants to do this is to try to find Imperial Recruiter.
As soon as he finds the Imperial Recruiter, it becomes academic. But he doesn't even straight up just need the Imperial Recruiter. He could also just get Baleful Strix. If he finds Baleful Strix, every life he pays, he can drain Cory for 2.
Or the Parasitic Strix, rather.
Yes, the Parasitic Strix. Wow, so many Strixi.
Oh, yeah. What I thought was an endangered species, but so many of them on display in this Allurn deck.
And so now we are continuing with the Coiling Oracle. Alex like, okay, so we're on the same page about this, right? Like I can pay a life, do this, pay a life, do this, pay a life, do this.
And Alex doesn't even need to he doesn't even need to go off this turn really. He can just wait, if Cory ever does something really threatening, he may go for it, but he doesn't have to try to pay all this life and win this turn if he doesn't want to. Finds Intuition, which definitely sets up the kill for next turn.
It looks like he's going to keep going.
There's Dreamstalker.
Well, Dreamstalker gives you 1 free roll.
Yeah.
Goes again.
Also keep in mind he still has a therapy in the graveyard too to break
Yep.
up things.
But he should know Cory's hand at this point outside of, I guess he doesn't know the Bloodbraid Elf.
Right. So you're seeing him just looping Coiling Oracles and Baleful Strixes here.
Bounce.
Trying to find an
Strix
Imperial
again.
Recruiter. Yep.
See, I'd even actually, I think I'd be doing the Coiling Oracle. Yeah, sure, because now
Yeah.
you want to get some land into play if it comes to that, so you can cast this Intuition.
And
There's the Recruiter.
And that's the last piece of the puzzle.
So now the Recruiter is going to be able to go find the Parasitic Strix.
Now Strix comes into play, drains. Now Cavern Harpy can return itself to his hand, pick up the Strix, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that's a kill. There's not a lot of things in Legacy more comical than the boards of the Allurn decks. Just a pile of nonsense. But this
hodgepodge.
is a kill.
Yeah, because like even in this spot, if Cory's mystery card turned out to be Bloodbraid Elf, who cares? Look
Right.
at this board. This is I mean, you're going to attack for more than 20 next turn if you want.
But I think Alex is simply going to kill him here. And
Pack it up and go to game 2.
Cory understands the enormity of the situation, moves on to the sideboard.
So what's T-Rex got in the sideboard to break up the combo?
He has a Diabolic Edict, 2 copies of Engineer Plague,
Ooh.
which is actually
Ooh.
really good against Aloran.
Oh, yeah.
Again, a lot of this is how familiar are you with the deck. But a Engineer Plague on Beast, which locks out Cavern Harpy, is quite annoying for the deck to get around. He has a Scavenging Ooze, Life from the Loam, 2 Ancient Grudges, 2 Golgari Charms, 2 Surgical Extractions, a Red Elemental Blast, 2 Pyroblasts. I think that Surgical Extraction is halfway reasonable once you've seen Intuition. But the Engineer play could be a big deal here.
Yeah, I think for sure he'll bring in the Surgicals because of Intuition. I think Engineer Plague is going to be a big trump. Thoughtseize is always respectable against these combo decks, and I think that he's probably going to want the Pyro and Red Blast just because being able to counter things like the most notably the Cavern Harpy is super valuable. Finally, I actually think he's even going to bring in Golgari Charm. Because after the thrashing he just took, he's going to want to have as many ways to interact as possible. And Golgari Charm could sweep the board, or it could kill a Learn.
Yeah.
Besides, I think that an awful lot of cards in Cory's deck are a little slow now that he realizes that Alex's draw is not always going to be so slow.
Yeah, and this is actually, Cory's Jund list here, plenty of disruption. A lot of it, kind of comically enough, not really that relevant against a Lurin. He has 3 Inquisition of Kozilek and 4 Abrupt Decays, none of which can touch a Lurin.
Oh yeah, I think those got to go.
Well, I think they're still valuable in other places. I feel like him's probably not that great. The sorcery speed removal.
I'd rather have him than Abrupt Decay or Inquisition. I mean, maybe Inquisition's okay because you can actually take the stuff out of their hand. Inquisition I would keep. It hits the recruiter. But I think Abrupt Decay is just, it's too bad. It never ends up breaking up the combo because he has access to 2 Dreamstalkers and 4 Imperial Recruiters. Spot removal is not going to do anything. If you want any spot removal at all, it's got to be Punishing Fire because of its ability to recurse, or Maelstrom Pulse. But even Maelstrom Pulse, I think, is just too slow. I think you've got to take all that stuff out and rely on as much discard and pressure as possible.
Yeah, I think the problem, I think there's definitely a really solid argument for that. I do worry that you're seeing cards like Deathrite Shaman and Baleful Strix, which are going to cause headaches even in normalized games. And Cory does actually need to start attacking on the ground at some point as well. So I don't know if you can abandon the removal altogether, though I do agree.
No, the Punishing Fire, though.
Yeah,
you
sure.
can keep the Punishing Fire. I think Abrupt Decay, though, man. Either way, he's going to have his work cut out for him because so much of the normal axis that he interacts on, totally irrelevant against a Lurin.
Yeah.
Liliana, too. I actually think Liliana is very poor against a Lurin.
Oh, you saw just an endless sea of just 1 power doofuses with comes into play value. It's just really hard to get Liliana online.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got so many cards in the sideboard that he would much rather have, whether it's the Thoughtseize, Engineer Plague, Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, Surgical Extraction, Golgari Charm. Quite frankly, I actually think even Life from the Loam is more appealing. It's not, the most brutal, but at least having a Wasteland gives you another possible way to disrupt what is otherwise a very challenging combo deck. On the other side, though, Alex Ledbetter has not a ton that radically changes things. He may want Abrupt Decay just for some cheap removal. I mean, obviously he knows that he's going to be facing Tarmogoyf and Dark Confidant, but I think he'd rather just stay with his combo.
Yeah, I like bringing in, he has an additional copy of Intuition in his sideboard. I like bringing that in.
Yeah, I actually don't think he wants anything else. I mean, Toxic Deluge, great against a Swarm, not what he wants here. Force of Will, good against a combo, not what he wants here. Carpet of Flowers against a blue deck, not here. Peacekeeper, great card against a Swarm, not here. Harmonic Sliver, same thing. I mean, at most, 1 Intuition. That said, he's already got things lined up pretty well for the main deck,
This deck of Lurin was really the talk of the town at Grand Prix Columbus a few years back. It received a lot of hype before the event.
We're short. Are you talking about the Flash one?
No, this is not the Flash one.
Oh, the one right after, right?
Right. I know Cedric Phillips was a big advocate for the deck, convinced a lot of players to play it, and it was huge in that event and has not been a really large player in the metagame since, although there are a lot of recent printings here. I mean, I don't know if you want to qualify Charlotte's Agent as a recent printing.
Oh, yeah, but
certainly
it is.
relative to the previous iteration of the
Definitely.
deck. It's a huge ankle. I hadn't even really considered it as being a potential enabler for Allurin, but
Baleful Strix, too. Baleful Strix, Shardless Agent, and Deathrite Shaman. A lot of new action.
yeah. Cards that allow you to play just a good, normal game until you assemble the combo. That's the value that they provide. They can also be combo pieces as you're going off, but a lot of the problem with previous iteration of Allurin decks, in my mind, was they just got hands full of nonsense. Just like creatures that required other things to get going, things that made their draws slow, draws that were really susceptible to Wasteland. All that stuff was going on. And now you're looking at a lot of just kind of normal quality creatures. We saw Baleful Strix, Coiling Oracle, Shardless Agent, and Eternal Witness all play key roles in that game. And a lot of it did not have to do with actually going off. It was just about generating enough resources and time to eventually do his thing.
There are a couple of big innovations in Ledbetter's deck here, which, I mean, it's not that he's the first person to ever do these, but he is doing them, and they are far from industry standard. First, 0 Force of Wills in the main deck. He's relying on his 7 discard spells to force through his combo. Second, no Wall of Roots, nothing like that. No, he's not big into the whole Wall of Roots, Wall of Blossoms, Tinder Wall, none of that kind of stuff. No, not even Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, Havenwood Battleground, none of the accelerant stuff except Deathrite Shaman. He's going with card quality instead of being as turbo as possible.
What's also noteworthy about what you're just describing is, with the exception of Deathrite Shaman, nothing in this deck really cares about being killed. Like Wall of Roots enters play, your opponent has Swords to Plowshares, that's really bad for you because you're really leaning on that Wall of Roots to do your thing.
Yep.
With the exception, again, of Deathrite Shaman, nothing else really is susceptible in the same way. Your Coiling Oracle or your Shardless Agent or your Baleful Strix gets killed, that's fine. You're already generating some value.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, Alex, going to 6, but Allurin is a deck that mulligans much, much better than most.
Yeah, so many 2-for-1s in this deck.
Tons. Plus, it's a 2-card combo that wins the game.
Yeah, it's
So
not.
all you have to do is get up to 4 mana.
It's not a Storm deck that needs this critical mass of rituals. It can just go with its 2 cards.
Definitely. It should also be noted that Coiling Oracle in the right circumstance can be a little bit of acceleration as well. He has 4 Brainstorms to help set it up, but Coiling Oracle, a backdoor way to get the turn 3 Allurin.
Cory leads off with a Bloodstained Mire, Forest, and Deathrite Shaman for Alex. Cory going to break his fetch land here. He also has brought in it appears that Cory has brought in the Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast, which I think is totally reasonable in the face of a lot of quality, blue spells and Allurin. Intuition rather.
Right, absolutely. We were talking about that, where being able to counter Intuition is already just an enormous game, but quite frankly, if you counter a Cavernous Harpy, you can set the Allurin player way, way, way back. They have Eternal Witness to try to get out of that, but it is a powerful form of disruption.
As you see, Abrupt Decay from Cory on the Deathrite Shaman.
This Allurin deck reminds me kind of a Splinter Twin deck of sorts, where instead of having to spend 3 and then 4 mana, you spend 4 and then 0 mana.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having a bunch of worthless cards, all your cards are Demonic Tutors and cantrips.
Right. Welcome to Legacy. Although this Allurin deck is also playing in much more hostile waters than the modern Splinter Twin deck.
Definitely. Yeah, Allurin would mess up some people in if you could play Allurin and Imperial Recruiter and all this stuff in Modern, you would maul some people.
Oh yeah. Deathrite Shaman for Cory. Just lands so far for Alex. But again, Cory cannot feel safe. Could be dead at a moment's notice.
Yeah, plus he's just seen horrors. He's seen atrocities. I don't think it's physically possible for him to feel safe after what happened last game.
Had some removal spells and nothing looked like very much was going on, and then suddenly everything was happening.
I hope somebody shows Aaron Forsythe that tape. Just be like, remember this. Remember this when you design new cards. We don't need this. Not like this.
Let's see if Cory appears to have Engineer Plague in hand.
Huge. But here's the thing. Does he remember Beast?
He did ask to see Alex's Cavern Harpy during sideboarding. I don't know if he was getting confirmation on the text or what have you, but
Fair enough.
it was asked to be revealed, so.
It's also possible that he names something else, you know, like human, or I mean, if you're familiar with the deck, though, the key point is the Cavern Harpy. That is the weak point.
Yeah. Everything was hubbed around that as Alex was going off and generating value in the first game.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't played against Teran very much. I mean, it's not been one of the mainstream decks.
Here is Imperial Recruiter.
So it looks like Cory did not play the Engineer Plague.
And he goes and he gets Charlotte's Agent.
Now, it's possible Alex boarded in Harmonic Sliver as an answer to Engineer Plague. I mean, a lot more people are playing Engineer Plague than used to because of True Name Nemesis.
Imperial Recruiter says, Creature Advisor. I suspect that is no longer the case after the large run of creature types.
He is a human advisor. But he is not the one to name, in my humble opinion.
And this is the other thing about playing, you know, getting familiar with a deck like Alern and playing it a lot is you're going to be a lot more familiar with what your opponent's up to than they are with you.
Yep. Now, interestingly, Alex on the backup plan again, although often these Alern decks just kind of live in backup land. Backup plan land. Alex finding a Shardless Agent because of having no Alern, but he does have the Cavern Harpy, which means that he'll be able to start doing his little value parade again.
Right, Cory going to activate Deathrite Shaman at the end of Alex's turn, dealing 2 damage. Cory takes a draw. Has Dark Confidant. And again, this Engineer Plague Cory can't be sure that he's naming the right card necessarily. He also can't be sure that Alex doesn't have some way to just kill it if he puts it into play. There is Engineer Plague.
He should name human. It's possible he names advisor, just not realizing that it's also a human. But Eternal Witness is also a human.
And Dark Confidant.
Good to name advisor.
Yeah. Yeah, named Beast.
I like it.
And this is another kind of curious thing about Legacy, is you never know when you're going to play against some of these oddball cards that are really problematic for you. You know, Engineer Plague, for example, not a card you see in every black sideboard by any stretch of the imagination, but probably one round out of every 9 or 10, you'll run into someone who has 1 or 2 copies in their sideboard, and it's a thing to have to slog through.
Yeah, it's particularly tough when you don't know about it beforehand. If you didn't bring in your Harmonic Sliver, you might just be on the, well, I guess we're not Cavern Harpying. Also of note, the only white mana Alex has access to in his entire 75 is from Deathrite Shaman or the 1 Savannah. The 1 Savannah, not fetchable with Polluted Delta.
And here's Charlotte's Agent.
He's going to need some blue.
Now here's Charlotte's Agent. There's Baleful Strix. Draws Cabal Therapy off the Strix. And casts the Therapy. What to name here?
Maybe, what would make sense for him to still have? I guess, yeah, I would miss.
Named a Liliana the Veil.
Yeah, fine. A fine choice. That surgical extraction, though, very good to know.
Flashes back the therapy. We'll see if there's some sort of response here. Yeah, it appears that he's just surgical extracting the baleful strix in response to this therapy. So we will, Cory will get a good gander over here, see what's going on. Has to read the Sidraxis Alchemist, which is Alex's out here 2 Engineered Plague.
Yeah, being able to bounce a permanent.
Sees Parasitic Strix. So this replaces this used to be a Mana War slot. It got replaced with this because it's a little bit more flexible. It can actually target non-lands, not just creatures. Engineer Plague, obviously, among them.
Right.
So he finds looks like he found all the Strixes.
Surgical extraction has some pretty hardcore artwork.
Oh yeah, no. If you actually go back and look at all the new Phyrexia artwork, there's a lot of horrifying stuff going on.
My God.
This is your spine and skull floating out from behind your body.
It has been surgically extracted from your body.
How do you feel about that? And so now Cory gonna take a gander over here. Check out the rest of the hand: Imperial Recruiter, Cavern Harpy. Therapy resolves, gets the Ancient Grudge.
Ancient Grudge, kind of a funny one. I mean, obviously, Shardless Agent, Baleful Strix, and Parasitic Strix, all artifact creatures. Cory, serious about the destruction plan.
Yes. But Cory now in a pretty good spot. Dark Confidant going, Engineer Plague. Reveals Scavenging Ooze to his Dark Confidant trigger.
Now, Cory's got a few things going for him. This Engineered Plague, very solid. He knows that Alex has only 1 out in his deck, but he knows Alex has an Imperial Recruiter to go find that out. But Alex does not yet have the Allurn, and Cory is starting to build a lot of resources with this Dark Confidant. He's got Scavenging Ooze and Deathrite Shaman, which can let him establish a real powerful board presence. Alex only has about 3 turns to try to win the game, or at least present a lot more defense.
And I really like Cory there just grudging the Shardless Agent straight away, not allowing the Alchemist to come into play here. Removing the lone blue permanent that Alex has access to.
Now, what kind of options is Alex going to consider for this Imperial Recruiter?
I honestly think that he needs to go get Shardless Agent here.
Just make some progress,
Yeah,
get a bunch of pieces?
Yeah, he's short on everything. I guess Eternal Witness is also reasonable, but...
Looks like he's considering the Imperial Recruiter just to get even more bodies.
Sure. He needs to develop his board. This is a fine path, too. But the point still stands. The man needs resources.
Important to note, this build has only 1 land in the entire deck that produces red mana. So he cannot Misty Rainforest for another red mana to keep going here.
That explains it. I thought there might be some larger plan here afoot. But.
Nope, it's so tough because he is playing all 5 colors, and he has basic forest, basic island, and basic swamp in his deck, including 2 forests. With 4 basics in a 20 land deck, and all 5 colors, it does not leave you a lot of room for extra duels.
And Cory cramping him out even further here with a Wasteland on the Taiga, cutting Alex out of red entirely.
Yeah, I think that getting the Shardless Agent there would have been just so much better. I mean, obviously in retrospect, but you're up against a situation where you need as much in play as you can immediately.
He also theoretically needs a blue permanent in play at some point to be able to get this engineer plague off the table as well. Tarmogoyf for Cory.
See, and it's funny because it looks like there's all these things going on. There's an engineer plague, the scavenging ooze, the death ray shaman, the wasteland. At the end of the day, let's be clear about one thing. This is a Dark Confidant game.
Yes.
You can't just let somebody sit around Dark Confidanting all day. It's just silly.
Too many cards. Too many. And the John deck is so good at converting every card into some sort of resource.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is exactly what Cory wants to be doing. Now, the good news about Alex keeping a Imperial Recruiter in his hand is that if he gets a Lurin, he can play it for free. And he can actually go off a fair bit. He can Lurin Imperial Recruiter, get another Imperial Recruiter, go get a Dreamstalker, go get another Dreamstalker, and go get the Alchemist, use the Alchemist, have the Dreamstalker as his blue permanent, bounce the Engineer Plague, drop the Cavern Harpy. He literally wins from this position if he draws a Lurin.
Crazy when you look at all the stuff that Cory's had going on this game. Absolutely crazy.
Which, yeah, I know we were talking about the whole backup plan situation. I think we stand corrected because if Alex draws a Lurin, that is it is important that he has gone this line.
Yeah. There's a lot of little wrinkles to this deck.
Oh my gosh. Now the question is, what can he do to live one more turn? I think we might be at the end of the line. I think this is it. Last draw. He packs it in.
Going on to game 3 here.
Yeah, because he has to give himself as many chances as possible to actually win outright. And the way he played it, he did advance his board a little bit, but he also kept the win in his hand if he draws a Lurin. He gave himself some chances. Cory not only winning the game, but very valuably getting a chance to look through Alex's deck with Surgical Extraction, giving him a better idea of what he's up against and what Alex is capable of.
But it's still challenging to just suss through all the permutations of what can go on.
Oh my gosh, there's no way you can grok all the different interactions immediately. You just have to have a general idea of, like for instance, he had no idea what was going on in game 1. Game 2, he's not sure what he's supposed to even do to fight such a thing, but he wins. I mean, obviously he knows Dark Confidant did it for him, but it helps a lot because now he realizes, okay, this is a pretty sick combo, but I can actually break this up. There are things I can do. Engineer Plague definitely it gave him that confidence. And obviously as it played out, we know that Alex actually had the Cavern Harpy, but if it were not for the Engineer Plague, that Cavern Harpy could have just been a value Harpy.
Yeah. And that was really Alex's path to victory in the first game.
Yep.
Was not necessarily Cavern Harpy generating a lot of the value until Lurin was in play, but all of his random 2-for-1 little creatures were a big part of the puzzle.
Surgical Extraction, giving more information about which creatures Alex has in his hand, which creatures he's kind of building towards for any one particular game. Now, as a note, remember, Alex did mulligan that game, and, well, Lurin mulligans well. Jund is a difficult deck to mulligan against, given how good they are at playing an attrition game.
Yeah, they're able to really effectively trade their cards with yours. Lands, spells, creatures, whatever. Every zone's in play. So mulligans are really brutal against them.
Man, I was just thinking, what if, how sick of a mind game is it if you Cabal Therapy Cory for Liliana's? When you're like, oh, well, they should take all the Lilianas out, but maybe if I Cabal Therapy for Liliana, he'll think that that's the important card and he'll board it back in.
I think now in game 3, Cory actually has cards that you actively actually care about. So I don't think he can get too mind gaming with his therapies. Alex says he'll keep. And we are underway. Turn 1 Thoughtseize from Alex.
Dark Confidant would be the top priority, but we'll see what all he has.
And a pretty anemic hand besides that Dark Confidant. 3 lands, a Deathrite Shaman, a Punishing Fire, and an Abrupt Decay.
Wow, this is a little sketchy too. You got to be like, it's tough because Cory put his hand down, but Alex really does need to fetch up, and perhaps he just said swamp, but you got to be careful in spots like this. Make your opponent fetch the land first.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm certain that he said that. I just mean sketchy on Cory's part if he did not say, like, not sketchy isn't bad, but just sort of it is a note to people at home. Make sure your opponent says which land they're going to get.
Yeah.
Or just gets it.
I shortcut this all the time when I'm playing Burn, for example. I'll like put the Wooded Foothills in my graveyard and say I'm going to Lava Spike you or whatever as I'm searching for a land because
yep.
With all the searching and shuffling that goes on in Legacy, if you don't shortcut, it just takes too long.
Take too long.
Got a shortcut.
So he takes the Deathrite Shaman. Do you think this is an indication of a second one? I mean, literally no fear. Oh, okay, it means he does have the Abrupt Decay.
It either means a really powerful hand or it means he has a removal spell for Dark Confidant.
Yeah, my prediction, we're going to see an Abrupt Decay.
So Cory going to use his 2 fetch lands here. It's a Badlands and a Bayou.
Just the way Garfield had intended, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll bet Garfield intended for people to be just fetching up dual lands. 0 mana tutors.
Here is Dark Confidant. Alex going to fetch. Goes and gets a basic forest. I believe, as you predicted, we should momentarily be seeing an Abrupt Decay here. And we do. And now look at Alex's hand. It's Allure plus a lot of value, guys. A lot of resource generation here. And Cory with just spot removal in hand. It's going to be really hard for him to fight this kind of fight.
What's the next step in the chain? Shardless Agent?
I believe we're going to see Shardless Agent. Start to just develop the board. Get his shop set up. Should see momentarily after the deck gets presented, and here is Shardless Agent. The Cascade reveals a Baleful Strix and draws a card.
He has a 2/2 Death Touch, a 1/1 flying death. He has a 2/2 creature and a 1/1 flying Death Touch. And he drew a card. All for 3 mana. For 3 mana. This is crazy. That's
a trip to Value Town.
Yeah. Dun-dun-dun. Won't you take me to? All right, Punishing Fire. And another Deathrite Shaman. Baleful Strix, usually a key weapon against Tarmogoyf. This Jund deck, though, very capable of removing potential blockers.
Alex takes a draw. No 4th land, it appears, for his copy of Allurin.
But he does have Dreamstalker in order to bounce the Strix. Now, it is noteworthy that he does not have the mana to cast things like Eternal Witness because he has fetched all basics, but obviously Cory's Wasteland sitting in play would have messed that up even further.
Yeah, I think trying to play as immune to Wasteland as possible until you're ready to go is a priority for Alex if he can afford it.
Glad I don't look like Dreamstalker.
Let me see. Phyrexian Mana cast Surgical Extraction here on the Shardless Agent. Shows Baleful Strix, Abrupt Decay, Harmonic Sliver, Allurin, and Eternal Witness.
This has been a long and grueling attrition-y game. So many little subtle interactions to try to figure out.
Yeah. Although Cory's list not really equipped to handle Allurin once it is in play. So if Alex can find a 4th mana source, Cory could be in a world of trouble. He finds the other 2 copies of Charlotte's Agent. So Alex is going to have to go off without that card, but he can fairly easy go off without his Charlotte's Agent. Not a required combo piece.
Oh, no, it's just primarily a value plan. But as it is now, he's primarily going to be looking to use Coiling Oracle or Baleful Strix to try to find 1 more mana. Cory, on the other hand, sitting on Abrupt Decays that aren't doing a ton, but he does have Golgari Charm to break up the combo.
And here's Alurin.
Now the tricky part is that in response to the Golgari Charm, Alex could play another creature.
Yeah. Yeah, this is all instant speed, so the interactions and the pacing gets really crazy here.
Now Cory's best bet is to respond. Don't let him even draw another card.
Yep.
You got to respond. You got to do this as fast as possible because it's just going to keep getting worse.
I think he's aware now that he's got to stop this.
Alex, of course, going to respond with Coiling Oracle and Eternal Witness. Does not. The Coiling Oracle, at the very least, could come down for free.
I think it's a Harmonic Sliver as the other gold creature. So there's nothing he can do with the Witness, because I think he wants to Witness back the Alurin. He can't do that in response to the Golgari Charm. So he's just got to wait, maybe do this over the course of 2 turns.
Yeah, if he has, I guess that could be Abrupt Decay, and he's going to have to stop. Imperial Recruiter.
Yeah. I mean, the
problem is that Eternal Witness not going to work against the Death Ray Shaman that's active. Oh yeah, it is.
Against Alurin, yes.
Yeah, Alurin is the one type, or one of the few.
Yeah. Enchantments, one of the few things excluded from Deathrite Shaman's ability, so Alex can get that back and say, you got a 1 turn to draw a Thoughtseize or a Cabal Therapy type effect, and if not, this is going to start happening again. One of the Baleful Strix is across. And then a turn Deathrite Shaman activation here from Cory. Cory's hand providing no help at this point, just 2 copies of Abrupt Decay. So Cory's going to make a mana with Deathrite Shaman and Abrupt Decay. The Eternal Witness at the end of the turn. Moves on tap. Draws, I believe, Ancient Grudge. It is a Grudge. So Cory with no resistance against Alurin.
Yeah, the question is, if he saves the Grudge and has the Abrupt Decay open, does he think there's a chance that he can actually find a weak spot to break it up?
I mean, if Alex is careful about it, the answer is no.
Correct.
Going to use Wasteland on the Savannah, so
that's good.
At least keeps Alex off of his 2nd green source of mana and his 4th mana to actually cast the Alurin.
I mean, that's a plan.
Yep. Brainstorm the draw for Alex. He's going to cast it.
He's looking for fetch lands.
Well, I think he's actually just looking for another mana and to hide his Allurins. For example, he doesn't even have to play the Tropical Island in his hand. He can just save that, set his Allurins on top of the deck, and then Wasteland doesn't break this up. Neither does discard. And then next turn could be all hell breaking loose again.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I don't think you want to put both Allurins back, because if Cory's already shown Surgical Extraction, it would be a total nightmare if you put them both back.
Yep. If he just casts Surgical on something random to make use off of your deck. Yep. Point well taken. In a turn, Ancient Grudge from Cory.
Goyf growing large enough to bust through that Dreamstalker.
And if you look at the surface of this, if you just came in and looked at this board, you would say, man, oh man, Cory is doing really well. Look how much removal. He's pinned his mana. He's got this gigantic Tarmogoyf. likely to be for naught. You see Abrupt Decay now from Alex on the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, if he didn't have him before, he certainly increased how many as a result of the beating the Dark Confidant provided last game.
Yeah, now there's Scavenging Ooze, and I believe away we go.
Yeah, so I think you might have even just wanted to keep the Scavenging Ooze to play for free so you could hold up Grudge. It's not much, but it's not gonna matter either way though.
All right, so Allurn is in the house. Now here's Imperial Recruiter. And this is step one, but you're going to see the combo kill. Gets another Imperial Recruiter. This is all just to get enough backup in place, so nothing random can break it up. Gets another Imperial Recruiter. Recruiter gets Cavern Harpy. Cavern Harpy bounces the Dreamstalker. Dreamstalker will re-enter play. Bring an Imperial Recruiter back to hand. Now
he's got the Deathrite Shaman to Grudge, but it's not going to break it up.
No.
As long as Alex keeps stacking his triggers so that he has a gate trigger each time, he can always bounce the Cavern Harpy. Basically, he puts the Cavern Harpy into play, and with the trigger on the stack, plays the Parasitic Strix, which means that if a Grudge comes down to try to hit the Strix, the Cavern Harpy can just bounce itself.
The instant speed clause on Allurn is critical in making sure that it ignores most opponents' paths of breaking up the combo. And there it is. I mean, the Allurn deck can go off in a more complicated fashion, but what you're seeing in play is that's the core.
Alex trying to show Cory, I will never be vulnerable to an Ancient Grudge.
I mean, he'll go for it, and Alex will establish that doesn't matter.
Yep.
And there's a concession.
Cory offers the hand.
Alex Ledbetter wins 2 games to 1 over Cory Teran playing Jun. Alex moves on to 6-0. I mean,
impressive.
We're a win away from 2 intentional draws.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fine showing from the Allurn deck using lots of new technology.
Yeah, and really, Allurn's another great example of a legacy deck that's kind of using all the pieces of the puzzle over Magic's 15, 20 years worth of creatures. There's a lot of weirdos, a lot of random synergies going on. It's glued together by Imperial Recruiter, which is quite powerful, but Cavern Harpy, sort of a throwaway card, not something you really think of. But the interaction between that and Allurn is incredibly powerful if you have the right setup.